Today is for you. If you are someone who has been taking a lot of action, you're doing the things, you're showing up, you've got your morning routine, you're disciplined about your outreaches, maybe you're in corporate sales, maybe you're an entrepreneur, you've got your day structured, and you're like, I'm doing all the things, I'm taking the right steps, I'm doing my reach outs. And yet, why is the needle not moving on my income? Why am I not quantum leaping? Why am I not making more income? Today is for you. We're going to dig into exactly why. This is exactly where I was stuck for over 10 years. And about 5 years ago, I had a quantum leap. I had an aha moment. I realized that all the people who talked about how you can ascend, you can have more, you can grow. We're not lying. We're not making it up. It was not something that was different or special about them versus me. It was all a shift in consciousness. And that's what we're going to be getting into today. And so I'm so excited to bring you this material. I think it's life changing. And I think it's so important, more important than ever before. As we record this here, I'm coming off of a weekend that I spent in Lake Arrowhead with some of our clients, and it was such a powerful weekend. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to impart, and we as a team wanted to impart to our clients, is that it is possible for you. It is 100% available to you to have a thriving million-dollar, multi-million-dollar, shoot, a billion-dollar business if you want, while also creating greater time freedom in your life, also having more time with your kids. I traveled there with my 5-year-old. We've got 3 kids, 5 and under, and I traveled there with my 5-year-old and one of my dear friends who's also our travel nanny. And as we were kind of weaving in and out of the weekend, and we had a moment where our clients were coming in one morning. We were at this beautiful cabin that my co-facilitator, co-host, one of our consultants, Allison Lecusier, she just bought with her partner. And my son was up and he was doing a welcome message to the clients there. And that moment of seeing him and having him be there for part of that experience and being in the energy of quantum leaping and helping our clients quantum leap while simultaneously also being able to be present with my son. It was such a beautiful reminder that we can have it all. You can have it all. And so I just want to remind you of that today, that that is possible. Today, we are going to be working in what I call the third quadrant of quantum sales growth, which is masculine and feminine energy. This is about the integration of both action and consciousness. And so the theme for today, we're calling this the calibration gap. And this is, why is more effort not creating more results? Why more effort is not creating more results? How many of you have ever felt frustrated? Like, okay, I'm doing all the right things, I'm taking the action. Maybe I'm sleep deprived, I'm burning the candle at both ends, I'm doing all the things I think I'm supposed to be doing, and yet, why is nothing happening? Why is the needle not moving? That was 100% my experience. And I remember being at a time in my life, I'm just pulling up, we get the chat pulled up here too, all the windows. So being at a time in my life where I was, I had just had my first child. He was 4 months, around 4 months old. And I really wanted to be a present mom with him. I've never been a mom, didn't know what it was like. But I had visions of what kind of a mom I wanted to be. And simultaneously, I also had visions of how successful I wanted to be in my business. And I knew that I wanted to be making 7 figures. I knew I wanted to be a top leader in my field. And yet I was kind of sitting there at what already felt like a full schedule, right? Where I was probably starting my workday at 6 a.m., some days even earlier, and then going until like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. some nights. And there's a lot of feeling of internal pressure. I don't know how many of you can relate to that feeling of internal pressure, but where it feels like, okay, like it's never enough. I always felt behind. I always felt overwhelmed. And I was looking at this and saying, how in the world am I going to fit in the time to actually be the type of mom I want to be for my child while also growing the business? I don't know how many of you can relate to that, but for me, it felt like this period of real, like, oh, how am I going to get to do this? It felt like friction. I felt challenged. And maybe you've had that experience. Maybe it was the first time you became a parent, for those of you who are parents. Or maybe you're just sitting around looking at how hard you're already working in your corporate job or in your business. And you're saying, I want to work more, but, all right, I want to make more, but is it going to require doubling the work? Like, if I want to double my income this year, am I going to have to double the amount of work that I do? There's not more hours in the day for me to do more. So, how is this going to be possible? Maybe you have felt plateaued for a long time, right? Think about that. How long have you been at the same level? I work with I work with a lot of individuals, and I also work within a lot of companies. And I'm working with a company right now where they've got a group of top performers, but each of them, like one of them is always number one in the company. There's a group who are middle of the pack, and then there's one or two who are like, whoo, am I really like, I'm lucky to be here in this top performer group. Do I fit in? Is this me? Why is that? Right? Everyone in that group wants to be the top performer, at least consciously. But why is it that not all of them are? And it's always just one person. They're plateaued. Some of them are plateaued. Or maybe you feel, and this is really big, maybe you feel like you're having to force results or push results. I'm reading a book right now. I really love integrating like spirituality, science, so neuroscience, quantum physics, and sales. We call them the three S's within the community: spirituality, science, and sales. And I'm reading a book by Mike Dooley. I think it's called The Great Awakening, I believe. It's behind me on my bookshelf, but I was on a plane ride this weekend and I was reading it. And one of the things I love, because it brings teachings from great spiritual teachers, and one of them was just talking about anytime we're feeling like we've got to force something, anytime we're feeling like we've got to push something, like it's a sure sign you're out of alignment. And I don't know about you, but for me, like no matter how much I learn these things and no matter how much I study this every day, I still need reminders of that. I still find sometimes when I'm ready to go to another level in my business or in my life, there's a part of me that wants to like make it happen and force it and push it. What I have learned is that that is never effective. What I have learned is that it's a sure sign that you're out of alignment. I remember, this is maybe a month or so ago. We live up in Maine right now, and I tell you what, these winters are cold. I don't know if I've got any Northerners live on the chat with me. Give me a yes in the chat if you're up north. But I made a decision after this winter. I was like, I'm not doing another winter up here in Maine. I can't. I love it. It's beautiful, and it is too cold. But I was zipping up one of my son's jackets one morning to send him out into the cold. And he'd been trying to do it himself. And he was like, he had the zipper, they were out of alignment, but he was trying to like force the zipper to zip up, and it wasn't happening. And what I said to him, all we had to do was line up the zipper tracks, and then shoop, the thing went straight up, and he was bundled up and he was ready to go. But as I was talking to him, and I was like, babe, it's actually really simple. All you've got to do is get the zipper in alignment. It dawned on me. I was like, how much is that an analogy for life? And how much is that an analogy for flow, where if we're trying to push something or effort it, it's a sure sign that we're out of alignment. But gosh, how much are we taught that you have to do that? And what I want to say to you today is we talk about calibration to higher frequencies, and as we talk about why more effort isn't the answer, is that it is all about alignment, and it's about your level of consciousness. So if you want to expand, number one, I want you to expand. You were designed to expand. It's why we called this room the expansion room. It's what you're here to do. So you're going to hit one level of achievement and accomplishment and success in your life, and then you're going to want to hit another level. Now, I don't want you to do that from a place of not feeling enough. And this is the key. A lot of times I'll work with someone and they'll say, Elyse, I want to make $1 million in my business this year. I'll say, amazing. Why? And when they're really honest with themselves, it's something outside of them. It's because they feel like, then I'm going to be successful. Then I'll be enough. Then I'll be fill in the blanks. Subconsciously, it's like, then my dad will approve of me, then other people will admire me. That's not why we want to do it. You want to expand from a sense of wholeness. This is the work that we do in a concept we teach within the community called selling from wholeness, which means you do the internal work to actually realize that you are abundance, that it has nothing to do with a number in the bank account or the number of clients you're attracting. You are prosperity. You are success just because you're here, just because of who you are. But from that place of feeling whole, now we want to expand. Now we want to grow. Now we want more. So you're always going to want to expand. But if you try to expand and bring in more and call in more from your current level of consciousness and from just doing more of the same, it's not going to happen. Price Pritchett wrote a beautiful book called U Squared. I have every single member of our community and every client read it. Some of you know it very, very well. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. But it's essentially, how do we skip levels in our life, in our business? How is it that some people seem to always get more of the same results, which is where I was for a long time. But it's like, no matter what you do, you're always at the same level. Some people get incremental success, so maybe 5 or 10% growth a year. And that's how we're taught to achieve goals. Bob Proctor called those B-type goals, where it's like you're growing a little bit, but it's not what you really want, right? It's not what you actually want. And what Price Pritchett talks about in this book is the concept of the quantum leap, which is me going from stuck at 100,000 a year to a million in the year within 6 weeks. Like, that is not normal. That quote unquote should not happen, but it did. Why? It's because I discovered this. And what I will tell you is it was not more of the same. In fact, I took less effort during that time. And I'm always a little conscious when I leave that part out if I speak on a corporate stage and a company's brought me in. I don't tell, this is my stage today, so I'm going to tell you. Um, but if I'm speaking at a company, I usually don't tell people, yeah, I actually worked less when I followed these principles. They don't want their people hearing that. But I'll tell you here, I worked way less during that time. And in fact, now I work way fewer hours than I did when I was stuck at a much lower level of income. Why? It's consciousness. It's consciousness. So let's talk a little bit about the neuroscience of this. For those of you who are my science people out there, like I said, we weave science and spirituality here. I think they're two ends of the same stick, to be honest. And then I want to give you some practices, some things that you can do to actually align with the new level of consciousness. And then we'll talk about, for those of you who are interested, we'll talk about ways we can go deeper into this, how my team and I can help support you if that's something that you desire to go deeper into, have the actual support. Because it's one thing to show up here and get some free information, which is really powerful, but it's a whole nother thing to invest in yourself and to say, I'm here, I'm ready for transformation, let's go. That's when it's actually going to happen. All right. So let's talk about why it is that if you want to ascend to a whole new level of results, let's say, for example, that team I told you about that I'm working with right now, let's say that every single one of them, I'm going to give you some made up information here, but let's say there's 10 people on that team. There's one top performer. Let's say the other 9 say, all right, I want to be the top performer this year. If they tried to be the top performer from the level of consciousness of, I'm bottom of the pack, even of the top performers, I'm middle of the pack, or even I'm number 2, it's a different level of consciousness. I want you thinking about the thoughts you're thinking when you're consistently number 2 versus the thoughts you're thinking when you're consistently number 1, right? When you're number 2, what are some of the thoughts that you're thinking? You're like, not enough, not good enough, not there yet. Someone else is above me, ahead of me. Now, let me tell you, I don't really believe in competition in the traditional sense. I want to be really clear on that. So I'm just using this for an analogy. In The Science of Getting Rich, he talks about moving from the competitive plane to the creative plane. We want to operate on the creative plane. We don't want to be in the competitive plane. The competitive plane feels like lack, scarcity, not enough. You're always looking outside of yourself for validation. The creative plane is where the way I think about it is aligned with God. It's where your ideas are downloads, where they drop in. Christy, I see you're on here live. You were with us this weekend in Lake Arrowhead. We were on the creative plane during that time together, where it's like, it's not about the people outside of you. It's about how much can I align my thoughts, my actions, with the highest expression of me. Some of you may call that God, the divine source, consciousness, whatever your language is, there is perfect. So we don't want to operate on the competitive play, but I want to use this as an example because we all know what it's like. For a long time, my level of consciousness when I was in corporate sales was that I was really good. I was always like very close to the top, but I was rarely always number one. I was usually like up there really close. Sometimes I'd be number one, but then sometimes I'd drop back down. Why is that? Why is that? Because there was actually a vulnerability. Now, I wasn't aware of this, but I perceived a vulnerability by being number one. Part of me felt like, ooh, other people won't like me if I'm there, right? I'll have what do we think sometimes like, oh, I'll have a target on my back. Someone will judge me. I won't have friends in my company anymore. So I held myself back. I know I could have been if I wanted to. Anyone can be if they want to, right? Truly. But it's a decision. And it's actually moving into that level of consciousness. So we are all programmed with an identity, with expectations of how life works for us, particularly from the ages of 0 through 6 or 7. You will establish a norm, a set point for what feels normal, natural, and expected for you in all areas of life financially. So I want you to think about it like this. I grew up in a household where my dad, now this was a long time ago, but he made somewhere in the 6-figure range. To me, that felt normal. We were like upper middle class. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor. It was upper middle class. What do you think I went on to make as soon as I graduated college? 6 figures. What do you think I stayed stuck at for over 10 years after I got to that point? 6 figures. Why? I was programmed that way. Now, there's some people listening to this where they would say that would feel astronomical to me. If I could just be there, that would be amazing. There's other people, I've worked with billionaire clients before, where they would be petrified if that was the only amount of money they brought in that year. They would feel like something was incredibly wrong, and they would very quickly get back to the billion-dollar programming because that's what they're used to. When you're born on this planet, you're a blank slate. You're a blank slate. You are programmed with what feels natural and normal to you for everything in your identity, from what amount of love feels natural and normal. If you see your parents fighting a lot, or maybe there's a lot of kind of suppressed aggression, or maybe things aren't talked about publicly, but there's a lot of anxiety under the surface, you'll go on to recreate that in your life later on because that is what feels natural and normal to you. And so you have a filter in your brain that actually filters out anything that doesn't align with your worldview. I was talking with a client about this this past weekend about the difference between personal truths and universal truths. And this particular client, she had a belief that anytime she really went for what she wanted in her life, that something bad would happen. And she had lived experience to back it up. And one of the things that she shared was the first time she opened up a business years and years ago. Um, Shortly after that, her husband cheated on her and they ended up getting a divorce. And now she had been told before that from her family, from her parents growing up, that women shouldn't have a business, that they should be in the home. And so she had a belief that it wasn't right for her to actually be going for what she wanted professionally while being a mom. When that happened, when her husband cheated on her, she took her brain, filtered out anything to the contrary, and said, see, that's evidence that if I go for what I want, that I'm going to have something negative happen, something bad is going to happen. And so what do you think is happening for her now while she wants to expand? This particular client is now ready to go launch something new. She has everything she needs to go launch it. And there was a part of her that's been hemming and hawing, that's been saying, I'm not ready yet. Why? Not because she's not actually ready yet, but because deep down, there's a part of her that believes if she does this, something bad is going to happen to her, to the people she loves. So what we did in that moment was we actually rewrote the story. And one of the things that I love from my spiritual studies is just the fact that we are the meaning makers of everything in our lives, right? Everything is actually neutral. Nothing is good or bad. It just is the meaning we assign it. And so what I shared with her when she shared that belief, that limiting belief that she was afraid that if she went for it and really launched her new business now, that she would be negatively impacted. I said, that may feel like a personal truth to you because of what you were conditioned with growing up, but is that everyone's experience across the planet? Is that universally true that everyone on the planet, when they go for what they want, something negative happens? No. And I used myself as an example. Like, I have plenty of other limiting beliefs I've worked through, but that is not one of them. It doesn't exist in my consciousness. I have a belief that when I go for what I want, good things happen. I have a belief that I create what I want, that I get what I want. That's one of probably my best beliefs from childhood that I think I got ingrained from my parents, that I appreciate that I do get what I want and I always make what I want happen. It's just something I know about myself. And so that is not my truth. Her truth is not my truth. So I said, borrow my belief, right? Any belief you have that's not serving you to get where you want to go, pick a new belief. Now, a universal truth or a universal belief is something that applies to everyone, like regardless of age, gender, race, location. The law of gravity is my favorite one to use there because it applies to everyone around the world, no matter what you look like, where you're from, your age. Everyone plays by the law of gravity. That's a universal truth. But if it's not a universal truth, it is optional. And you can decide what you want your experience of life to be. Once you decide and once you build a new belief, like once she creates the belief that when she goes for what she wants, when she launches her new business, everyone around her is going to benefit. The filter on her brain is going to stop scanning for things to go wrong there. And instead, it's going to start scanning for opportunities, for evidence that it's real, that her family benefits when she goes for what she wants, that things get better when she goes for what she wants. And so that's the power of understanding the neuroscience behind this, that there is so much information coming into us at any given time that you can't possibly take it all in at once. And so that filter in your brain is going to filter out only what feels accurate for you, only what feels true for you, so that you don't go crazy. So the process of expanding your consciousness, it's not about doing more of the same. It's about expanding your level of awareness so that you perceive more of what you want and less of what you don't want in your life. Does that make sense? And so that's part of why identity, self concept, perception, awareness are so critical on your journey. This is part of why, when I'm working with high performers who are already receiving at a high level, that if they want to go to another level, we're not going to do more of the same. This isn't about, I want to double my output. So I'm going to, or yeah, I want to double my results. So I'm going to double the amount of work I'm doing. No, we're going to go to the place in your mind where everything is as you would love it to be, where you have double or triple the amount of money in the bank, maybe 10x, maybe 100x, where you have a wait list of clients, where people are paying 5 times what they're already paying for your services. We're going to go there and we're going to start to actually wrap your brain around that vision. We're going to start to fall in love with that vision. Now, there may be fears, there may be limiting beliefs. That's normal, that's natural. Again, that's the protection survival part of your brain. And it's just like when I was trying to zip that zipper up on my son's jacket a few months ago and it just wasn't happening. It was trying to force it or push it. That would be the equivalent of having the beautiful vision for your life, but your beliefs haven't caught up with it yet, or your consciousness hasn't caught up with it yet. It doesn't feel real to you yet. It's going to feel like you're pushing. It's going to feel like you're forcing. That's okay. I think that's a natural part of the process for most of us. But the key is to be aware that you're there and not to try to just push or force or yank it, because the zipper would have actually gotten stuck if we had tried a lot more of that. But instead to take a step back and to breathe and to say, okay, let me line this thing up first. Then we're going to zip it right up. How do we line it up? By figuring out the level of consciousness of where you're going. So let's say that you're someone on this call or watching the replay where you're currently operating at a 6-figure level of thinking, or maybe you're making 50,000 a year in your business, 100, 200, 500, a million. I don't care, but you want to go to the next level. You have a desire for more. That's beautiful. I don't want you to try to effort your way there. All right. I want you to first expand your consciousness. From a new level of consciousness, you're going to feel a different level of capacity. That's something we talked about a lot this past weekend at Million Dollar Weekend is expanding the capacity for how much energy you can hold. Money is just energy. Clients are energy. Opportunities are energy. Health is energy. It's all energy. So the capacity to have and to hold a certain amount of energy is different at the seven-figure level than at the six-figure level, at the eight-figure level than at the seven-figure level. All right. So you're not lacking effort. I want you to get that. You're not lacking effort. How many here know that you're not lacking effort? Give me a yes in the chat or give me a Cindy, I see your hand. It's like, you're not lacking effort. If you're trying and it feels like, oh, I'm pushing, but it's not happening yet, you're simply lacking alignment with the level you're trying to reach. And like I said, we get reminders of this all the time. And this applies at every single level. And I find even for myself, like yesterday was a day where it was like, I don't have a lot of these days anymore, fortunately, but yesterday was one of those days where it was like, ooh, I was feeling some contrast. No matter what I did, it felt like things were off or things weren't working. And the kids were kind of crazy. We had flown in the night before from Boston. And then it was a long trip back from our weekend. I woke up. I didn't do my morning routine like I normally do. So that was a beautiful reminder of the importance of the morning routine. But it was like nothing was really working the way I wanted it to work. And there were so many moments throughout the day yesterday where I was like, okay, Elyse, you got to just push through. You got all these things to do. You still got to do them. And it was a beautiful reminder to really practice this because it's easy to practice this when you're feeling good and in flow. It's trickier to practice it when your brain doesn't believe it. It's trickier to practice it if you're in a day where it feels like nothing is really clicking, but you're like, I should push through. I should make it happen. I got a lot of beautiful opportunities yesterday to practice this and to say, okay, if I really believe what I teach, then I'm not going to try to force it from this level. I was tired. I let myself take a nap. I didn't feel excited or inspired about a whole lot of stuff in the moment. I was like, okay, I'm going to let myself go back outside. I'm going to let myself play with my kids. And it's going to be what it is today. And I'm going to get back into it tomorrow. Now, like I said, I really don't have a lot of those days anymore. I don't think you can do that all the time and have a successful business. That's not what it's about. But that is the power of this work that I can say that and be like, that rarely happens for me these days. And it's because I apply this work where it is about calibration first and action second from a place of being calibrated with your next level identity, you want to take a lot of action. You're excited. You know, Christy, my integrator, is on this call. I've been voice texting her all morning. Let's do this. Let's do that. I'm excited. Let's go. Like from a place of alignment, you're excited to take the action. You want to do these things. I'm lit up about this time with you, this expansion. Like, I'm excited. Like, let's go. Let's do it. Action is beautiful. It's simply what's the level of consciousness that you're taking the action from? So I don't want this to stop you. We're going to do an exercise in a minute to help you really connect with that next level of consciousness. I don't want this to stop you from taking action. This is not meant to be an excuse to say, "Oh, I can't do anything in my business or in my sales until I feel completely like the number one performer, until I feel completely aligned with my seven-figure identity." No, you're going to move your way there. Generally, like sometimes we have an instantaneous shift in consciousness. Other days, and probably more often, it's incremental. There's nothing wrong with that, right? That's part of why every single day I show up and I want to ascend my consciousness. I want to make my goals feel more natural. I want to make the next level I'm calling in all areas of life. I want to feel closer to it. I want to feel more connected with it. Every day it's a little bit more, it's a little bit better. Some days the leap is bigger, some days it's smaller. Some days it feels like, man, did I just go backwards? But over time, progressively, you're moving in the right direction. As you do that, you're going to get inspirations for different actions to take. So I don't expect myself right now to fully know every action that I would be taking from the lens of an eight-figure CEO, which is my personal next level vision. but I feel like I'm getting closer. I feel like things are coming into play. The actions I'm taking now are different in my business, as I align with that next level of consciousness. And so give yourself, this is coming through strong for everyone today, so I'm going to trust it. Give yourself permission to let it be incremental, to not feel like, oh my gosh, if I don't ascend in 6 weeks like Elise did, or if I don't do this or that, I'm doing something wrong. Remember, it was 10 years before that. I want you all to hear that. Sometimes people hear my story and they're like, oh no, something's going wrong if I'm not instantaneously becoming an ascended master. And I wake up, I'm not waking up and seeing $1 million in the bank after I do, a deep meditation. No, give yourself permission to let it be incremental, but to enjoy the heck out of the journey and the process of getting there, truly. So let's take part of that process today. Let's take part of that journey today. And in quadrant 3 of quantum sales growth, which again, we've got my team, thank you, Chrissy, drop the link in the chat for the free training. It's for quadrant.elysearcher.com if you want to get the free training on this and you're not yet in our community. But this is quadrant 3 of quantum sales growth. This is masculine and feminine energy. There is a powerful blend that we want to live within if we're wanting to ascend. I used to be purely masculine energy, very little feminine. What is masculine energy? It's the doing, it's the action, it's goal oriented, it's linear thinking, and I operated that way for a long time. I was also almost primarily in that energy when I was stuck. So if you're currently feeling stuck, and I work with a lot of people who come into our community and they're feeling stuck, raise your hand if you're feeling stuck. Give me a 1 in the chat if you're live and you're feeling stuck right now. Maybe no one is, which is great if it's the case. If you are, it's okay. But generally, we tend to be disconnected from our vision and living in more masculine or linear energy if we're in a place of feeling stuck. And I don't care what level you're at. If you may be living right now, what was your dream 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe 6 months ago? But you're ready for more. You're ready to ascend. And you're like, why is the needle not moving? Very likely you're heavy in your masculine energy. This has nothing to do with being a man or a woman. This has to do with the energy that you're in. I love it, Cindy. Now, feminine energy is a feeling. It is flow state. It is a consciousness that we connect with. It is about skipping levels. It is about the quantum leap. It's about, this is how I think about it. Every morning, my number one job when I wake up, I don't care where my brain is when I wake up. I don't care if I wake up and I feel like an ascended master, or if I feel total ease and connected to everything, or if I wake up and I'm not in that state, right? Every day is different. Some days I wake up and I feel completely disconnected from my vision. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm in a negative emotional state. It's okay. It happens to all of us. But no matter where I wake up, my number one job for myself when I'm up is I want to feel good. I want to connect with the vision. I recently redid my screensaver on my computer and it just rebooted and it's not there anymore. So I got to go find it. But to be my vision board for right now, which I'm so excited for. And I'll show it to some of you who are in the community on a call coming up here soon. But as soon as I turn on that computer, it's my vision board and it's beautiful. And it's the new homes we're going to buy. And it's some things with our family. And it's a certain amount of money coming in. And it's experiences. And it's love. And it's beautiful. So I want to, and you want to, first thing, connect with that vision. Now, that can happen a lot of different ways. All right. Meditation, visualization, affirmation. But my job and our job, if we're really doing this work and we want to lead with feminine energy, which is what's going to quantum leap you, that's about ease, alignment, flow, is to really energize your vision and get connected with it, to fuse with it, to be, to use a pregnancy analogy, like to be pregnant with it, right? Like we're in that energy when we know it's already done, even if we haven't seen it yet. And from there, from that level of consciousness, I don't care if you do anything else all day. If you did that and you focused on that, and that was the number one thing you did, you got yourself there, you'd probably feel an action you want to take. You'd probably feel something you want to do. So you're probably going to be taking some action from that place. But if you only did that and you devoted your day to doing that, that would be better than a day of struggle, of trying to do the right things and trying to push your way through without feeling connected to your vision. That's just like being on a hamster wheel. All right. It is. And I assume that's why many of you are here. You don't want to be on the hamster wheel. And we know when we're there, we know what that feels like. So, three things to think about here. And then we'll talk about what's next. If you are really ready to calibrate to the new frequency, number one is you've got to see the next level clearly. This is so important. If you're wishy-washy, if you don't know what you want, if you're one day saying, I want to bring in this amount of money in my business, and the next day you're saying, oh, maybe I went too big that day. Okay, I'm going to pull it back. Maybe I shouldn't have asked for that much. It would be like putting in an order on Amazon and then canceling it, and then putting in another order and then canceling it, and then putting in another order and then canceling it. The universe, spirit, God, source, whatever your language is, cannot deliver to you what it is that you want unless you are clear. All right, this is really important. So you need to clearly see what it is that you want. That's part of why I made my computer desktop background my vision board. So I was like, it's not enough to see it in my mind in the morning. I want a visual. I'm super visual. And some people who say, oh, well, I can't visualize or I can't see things. The best description I've ever heard of visualization that I think helps is visualization is simply making a memory of something that hasn't happened yet. That's it. It's making a memory of something that hasn't happened yet. It's no different. It's no different than thinking of memories of things that have already happened. But Joe Dispenza says it like this. He says, we're either defined by a vision of the future or our memories of the past. So if you feel like you're stuck and you feel like you're efforting, but you're not getting to the next level, what are you defined by right now? Is your brain constantly going to things that you've told yourself are failures, or what's currently in your bank account, or challenges or past traumas that happened? Not to say that there's not healing work, not to say that there's not processing work, but if you keep rehashing and recycling in your mind again and again and again, why isn't the money there? Why haven't the opportunities come in yet? Why is she getting on the stage, but I'm not? Why is this? Why is that? You're not going to get there. You're defined by the past, not the future. Does that make sense? So you need to clearly see the next level. So you can write this down if you're taking notes. I want you to really think about this. Like, what does it look like in vivid detail? And you need to be in the picture yourself. So there's a penthouse that I'm manifesting right now, which I'm excited about, and I'll show it to you all when we're in it. Who knows on the timeline? I'm in it now in my mind. Who knows on the timeline? It requires different moving parts. It requires alignment between people. But I have a sense, I have a vision, I have a knowing it's going to happen, and it's beautiful. So when I'm there in my mind, I'm in it. I'm actually in the kitchen, and I can see what's outside. I can see the view over the city. I see my kids playing off to the right side of me. I see the vision, the view of the city below. There's a soaking tub that overlooks the city. Like I'm in the tub. Does that make sense? So that's how we do it. So it has to be clear, crystal clear. So what does that next level look like? So one of the things I'll have our clients do is write it out like a vivid script, almost as if you're the star of your own movie, right? And then the key is how you must think from that place. So this is where we tend to recycle and repeat a lot of the same results again and again, and we feel like we're stuck. You must consciously, it will feel like I had a friend one time call it doing mental gymnastics. It will feel weird. It will feel strange. This is where people sometimes think, well, flow and ease should feel easy. It's the action state that you're in. It's the energetic state when you're in that you're in when you're acting. But the mental piece will feel like gymnastics when you're really doing this. From that lens of already being in the penthouse, being on the stage, having the money in the bank, how do I think? How do I decide? And how do I move? This is really key and really critical. Most people won't do this. Most people will take it up until the point of visualizing and say, that sounds great, but I can't book that trip. I haven't seen the money in the bank. I can't hire that team member. Doesn't make sense for where I am right now. I can't reach out to that realtor. I don't have the down payment for a house. No, you must act from the end. And there's a lot of faith involved in this. We're not going to talk about this today, but there's a lot of faith involved in this. That's the second step here. The second piece here is you must embody before evidence. You must embody before evidence. We had a cool story for you about this. One of our clients, I think I may have shared the story a couple weeks ago on a live stream, but I was thinking about it this morning and I was like, this is it. She came into our community in our 10K club, not even having a guaranteed job. She had been a nurse previously, decided to go into sales, got into a really high, like a kind of cutthroat, intense sales environment that was commission only in a new company. She found me online, I think heard about me through someone else, and we got on a discovery call. And she had to make a sale in order to even keep a job. So she hadn't made a sale yet, and she was like a few calls away from not even having a job opportunity anymore. And we got on a call and we were talking about the 10K club, which is our signature group coaching program. And she was really feeling called to it. She was like, man, I know I need this. Like, I know it. I know. And I got to just make a sale first and make sure that I have a job before I invest in this. Now, look, does that seem rational? Sure. Like, is that reasonable? Yes. And apparently her husband, who works on our team now, funny enough, had even told her before, he was like, "Don't do it. Don't buy until we talk." He was like, "Use the husband excuse. Don't say yes until we talk afterwards." He shared the story at our event last year, which was hysterical. But we talked about, like, what would you do from the end? You're here because you want to change your life. You're here because you want a quantum leap. You're here because not because you're going to see if you have a job. You're here because you want to be number one at your job. So she invested in herself. She enrolled in the program on the spot, on the call. That night, she closed a sale. She went on to become the number one rep in their company within a few months. She turned her annual income into her monthly income. They transformed their lives. They're some of my favorite people on the planet. But it was that decision making from the end and acting before the evidence was there. So did she take action? Yes, 100%. But was it more of the same? The action previously had been, well, let me get like I'm going to be uncomfortable on the sales call, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to follow the script. I'm going to read it. But she wasn't fully bought in. She didn't know. Does that make sense? She didn't know that she was going to be there. In the energy of this is a non-negotiable, I'm declaring this, this is happening no matter what. She invested in herself from that energy. The very next sales call she got on, even though she had no sales experience and hadn't closed any before, she closed. Why? She'd been doing the same thing. She was saying probably very similar words. Her energy was completely different. But you must be willing to do what most people will not do in order to do this. This is really important. And this is the key. And this is where a lot of people say, well, that sounds nice. And I'd love a quantum leap, but they're not willing to actually get in it like other people are. And I know if you're on this call, very likely, although it really is up to you, you're in it and you're going to act like you're going to take the action from that place. And that's the third step, is taking action from the end. So the fastest way to shift your identity is to start making decisions from the level you're going to, not the one that you're leaving behind. So from that crystal clear vision, what does she do? She reaches out to the realtor. She hires the team member. She or he invests in the coaching program, does the things. You're taking action. It's going to feel stretchy. I use the phrase butt clenching sometimes. It's going to feel stretchy. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel a little butt clenching, but it's not more of the same. It's different. It's more elegant. It may feel very uncomfortable, but it will get you to where you want to go. And that's the bridge.